I'm just saying it's bad for college football. Jim Harbaugh can do whatever he wants to do. I'm not saying anything bad about him.
Somebody that has even recently broken rules. He's lecturing us coaches, us other coaches, on violating rules, and I just thought it was hypocritical. I thought it was a hypocritical act.
I'm not saying anything about it. I'm not blaming Jim Harbaugh. Not what's best for Jim Harbaugh. I'm not saying anything about it.
Let the games begin. The war of words just getting started between Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban. And, of course, Harbaugh was taking part in a satellite camp in Baltimore. That's part of his 39-day camp tour, and it's across 22 states. Here he is.
You know, you're connecting with the football world, other college coaches, high school coaches, and the student athletes themselves. And it means so much to them. They love it. I mean, you know, this is us coming to them. You know, they don't have to travel 500 miles or pay for a plane ticket or a hotel or a camp fee, at 5 or 6 different camps. This is good for the student athletes. It's good for the families, and it's good for competition. And if you say you don't want that, then you're saying you don't want something that's good for the student athletes. You don't want something that's good for families, and you don't want something that's good for competition.
Jim in the fitted. He has quite the jersey collection there. Skip, who would you rather play for, Saban or Harbaugh?
Stephen A., as much as you love Nick Saban, as much as I respect him to the point of I'm in awe of what Nick Saban has accomplished, obviously 4 national championships in the last 7 years, I want to play for Coach Harbaugh, and I want to do it right now. Coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, is revolutionizing the job description of college football coach. He is now leaping through a controversial new loophole that is allowing these controversial new satellite camps, and he's not just taking advantage, he's taking extreme all summer long advantage of these satellite camps. As Molly said, think about this, Stephen A. 39 camps, 22 states, and 2 countries. So vacation, what vacation? Yeah. So while Nick Saban and every other top 20 coach wants to go on vacation because they've earned it and they need it, go fishing, go play golf, not golfing, but play golf, go play golf. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is saying no vacation for me. I'm going to be in a new city every day, and I'm going to wear the jersey of the local hero, whoever it is, Ray Lewis yesterday in Baltimore. Who knows who will be next? I love that he's doing that. Yeah. And Stephen A., I want to play for Jim because he is a player's coach, because he was a very good player, for those who don't remember. A high-caliber quarterback who almost got an Indianapolis Colts team to a Super Bowl. Then he coached a 49ers team to the Super Bowl and very nearly came within one play of coaching them to a Super Bowl title. I love everything this man is doing because he stepped on campus, that moribund Michigan program, almost dormant, and he said, watch this, and they went 10-3, and it should have been 11-2, because you know about that miraculous collapse at the end of the Michigan State game that cost them that game. So it should have been 11-2, and propelled all that energy, all that motivation, all that forward thinking into a recruiting class that ranked 6th in the country this year with that Rashawn Gary from Paramus, New Jersey, the defensive tackle, the #1 overall player ranked in our ESPN Top 300, is going to Michigan. There's such energy, there's such momentum there that I want to be part of it, and trust me, he is making all those other top 20 coaches nervous and angry because he's leaping through that loophole that's going to make all of them go back to work with a vengeance to try to keep up with him.
Stephen A., before you respond, can I add one thing? This tour, you mentioned 2 countries, it extends to Australia and American Samoa as well. So Harbaugh's everywhere.
I want to be very careful about what I want to say because I'm a really big fan of Jim Harbaugh. I think that he is a damn good coach. I think he's only getting better and better. I think he was completely railroaded by the San Francisco 49ers. I think they'll rue the day they lost him as a coach. And the only thing that I could say about it is that I love his brother just as much. I'm a John Harbaugh fan. The Harbaugh family, I loved it when they were in the Super Bowl together, and his father and his parents were there, and it was wonderful to see. I'm a fan of the Harbaughs. If I want to enjoy myself as a college student and laugh and have a good time, I want to play for Jim Harbaugh. If I want to win, Jim Harbaugh hasn't proven to be Nick Saban. Jim Harbaugh, outside of last season's miraculous 10-3 year, which should have been 11-2, Jim Harbaugh had one stellar season at Stanford as a collegiate coach in 2010 when they won 12-1 and won the Orange Bowl. Outside of that, albeit rebuilding Stanford's program to some degree, I think their losses were like 8-7-5 if I remember correctly. Nick Saban is at Alabama. Allow me to throw out these numbers. Career record, 196-60. At Louisiana State, LSU, he was 48-16. At Alabama, he is 105-18. That is 85% of his games. This man has won 4 national championships at 2 different schools. And by the way, if I recall correctly, he wasn't too shabby, again, at Louisiana State and, of course, Alabama. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of winning. If you are in college football, I ain't talking about pro football, but if you are in college football to win, Jim Harbaugh is not even in the same sentence as Nick Saban. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Now, granted, I think he will be, and I think Michigan is heading in the right direction, and I think they made the right decision by hiring this man, and I don't have any problem with Jim Harbaugh's aggressiveness when it comes to the satellite football camps and what have you. I have no problem with any of that. I am a fan of this man. I met him for the first time, Skip, a few months ago at a Golden State Warriors game. As a matter of fact, I think he was there the Super Bowl Eve. He was at the game. But let me tell you something. I am a huge fan of his. I root for him the whole bit. He's no Nick Saban on a collegiate level. So the question is a double-edged sword. If I'm trying to have a good time and I want to be entertained by my coach because of his eccentric personality and all of that other stuff that comes with it, fine. If I want to win, I'm looking at Nick Saban. By the way, also structure comes into play because you're talking about collegiate students. You're talking about people flying straight. You're talking about people doing the kind of things that they're supposed to do or knowing there's a level of accountability that's going to come along with it. I know Nick Saban's record isn't stellar in that regard because there's been some things that have happened at Alabama. But the boat keeps going. It keeps sailing straight forward, up ahead with Nick Saban. Ain't no roller coaster ride. This man is a winner. And I respect the hell out of Nick Saban. And I think that Jim Harbaugh, I understand his willingness to speak out, but I think, if I should say so, I kind of think that Nick Saban deserves a little bit more respect than has been shown to him by Jim Harbaugh.
I want to remind you, Nick Saban was no Jim Harbaugh in pro football. So Jim Harbaugh has achieved far more in the National Football League than Coach Saban was able to achieve in his ill-fated stint with the Dolphins.
Where they coaching now? Is this the NFL we talking about? I don't think so.
No, but
we talking about Michigan and Michigan and Alabama.
I can make a case that the 1 year that you talked about at Stanford was a greater coaching achievement by Jim Harbaugh than any single year that Coach Saban has had, especially at Alabama. Well,
that's not all of those years.
Come there,
all of those years.
Recruiting's going to fall into your lap at Alabama for the most part.
But what about LSU?
I'll give you that. They were pretty good. But what about Stanford versus LSU? Tougher job? It's Stanford. Come on, what he pulled off at Stanford, what he rebuilt at Stanford was phenomenal.
He had 1 year. I'm looking at Nick Saban's record, and it's just a model of consistency. I'm saying you can't ignore that.
Look at Michigan State and tell me what happened. It wasn't that great.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. What he said. That's where he started.
Just getting good. Sorry, guys. Just getting good here, but we got to interrupt it. Skip is playing for Harbaugh, Stephen A. for Saban. We have a split decision. We need you guys to break this tie. Hit us up on Twitter. Who would you want to play for? We will share those results
if you want to win.
A little bit later. Yeah, if you want to win or you
If
want
you
to be
wanna win.
entertained. Up next, the Cavs find themselves in a 2-0 hole right now. What can Ty Lue do to get this team back on track in Game 3? We discuss what the game plan should be after the break.